Okay, today we need to start the new chapter, but before that, I'll discuss something which we did not discuss in the last class, and that was the impact on businesses. I told you every time that this is the most important part whenever you are writing answer, because eventually you have to explain how whatever is happening in the case study, how it will have an effect on the business which is being discussed. So remember now. So you know that in the last class we talked about market failure and causes of market failure, right? Then we talked about income elasticity of demand as well. So today I'll just I think maybe 5 to 10 minutes to explain you that how it is going to have an effect on businesses. So students are still coming in. Let me see who is there. Okay, let's begin the lesson. Now, you know what is a market failure. If you can't remember that, then obviously my video lessons are there. You can see it, or you can read it from the notes or from the textbook. Now, so in the earlier class, I discussed that there are many causes of market failure, but as far as your book is concerned and your syllabus is concerned, they have only talked about three of the causes: external cost, lack of labor training, and monopoly producer. So before I start, I want somebody to answer me what is a market failure, because then we'll start discussing it. Um, Abdullah Awais, can you tell me what is a market failure?
Ji sir.
What is a market failure?
So market failure is when resources are under or overused, and the system is not really efficient, and goods are over or underproduced.
Okay, very good. That's right, Abdullah Awais, that when resources are being overutilized or underutilized, it means either there is a case of overproduction or underproduction. And we are talking about from the society as a whole point of view. So now when external cost is there, obviously it is a case of overproduction. Goods are being produced, and society as a whole wants that these goods should not be produced uh, to that level where they actually pollute the environment or start damaging the health of the people living in the vicinity. So when it happens, so this is a clear cut case of overutilization of resources, right? And it is not in the public interest. So if external cost is there, let's say, and this is one of the case of market failure, what would be the effect on business? That is my question. Can anybody tell me if there is a market failure because of external cost, what would be the effect on business? Let me write it there. Effect on business. I'm writing business because obviously in the paper they will talk about only one business. So I'm not writing businesses. Okay. Effect on business. Any business. Yeah. Can you tell me? Anybody? When there is a market failure because of external cost. So nobody knows about it? Okay, then let me explain that if you are not clear about it. Now, external cost, you know that the effect on the third party is huge, and that is why people do not want it to happen. The consumers might like to buy the product, but because consumers do not consider the effects of the product, especially the production process, on the society. So, what happens? One thing, let me write it there. One is bad image if external cost is there, because sooner or later, because right now they are doing it, it's fine, but when the business will expand further, for example, in the case study, it's written that now business is planning to expand. So earlier, maybe the size of the business was smaller and the effect was not that much. But now, because the business is planning to expand, let's say it's written there in the case study, so then obviously the effect will increase as well on the society. So bad image will spread. Okay. And you know that pressure groups may get activated. Okay. So they will start uh, pressurizing the business that this is not good for the society, this is harmful. And you know that because pressure groups, they have media coverage as well, especially those pressure groups where there are large number of people part of that, and they have no financial constraints. It means that they have enough finance with them that they can go for any kind of bad publicity, and they have connection with media as well, so they can put up with placards, they can have a protest, they can have walks, okay, to demonstrate that there is something going wrong in the business. So it will, defame the business, or at least try to defame the business. Okay, so it means that sooner or later business has to change uh, the way business is going. Otherwise, when this will happen, what would be the development? The awareness will spread, and finally consumers would also not like to buy that, because if consumers buy from it, although they may get the benefit, but they may feel that now people will start pointing fingers on them. Like, let's say, if I say that now smoking cigarettes is affecting the members of the society, okay, and especially those people who smoke in public. So, if pressure group says that, okay, cigarettes should not be produced, now the people who smoke cigarettes, they will not feel comfortable smoking in public. They would like to find a quiet corner, okay, or where there are not much people over there. Otherwise, people, because now they have the awareness, so they may point fingers on them. So obviously they will reduce their consumption. Why? Because all the time they are not at home, they have to go out, and there are public areas and they cannot smoke over there. In developed countries, there is a law, you cannot do so. But in Pakistan or other developing countries, you can. But when people are aware of it, it's difficult. So then people will stop buying it because they have reduced their consumption, especially in case of cigarettes. So eventually the sales will fall in that case. All right. So same is the case with those businesses as well, which actually uh, produce so much external cost, which affects the society significantly. So eventually the sales is going to fall, especially when pressure group will be formed and they will start spreading the negative image of the business. And secondly, what will happen when external cost is there and now the external cost is getting bigger because of the increasing size of the business? What will happen? Government. Now, government will come into play as well, right? And government might impose with imposition of taxes, fines, and penalties. Okay, so again there is a problem for the business because cost is going to go up. Okay, and if there is a sentence of imprisonment, obviously that nobody wants to have it. Nobody wants to be put behind the bars. right? Especially if you are the owner of the company. Okay, this could be the effect on the business. Now, if I talk about lack of labor training, anybody who can explain me that? If there is lack of labor training, first of all, tell me how it is an external cost. Let me ask you because you are just silent. Yes. Um, Fatma Shakil, can you please tell us? Fatma, are you there?
Sir, can you repeat?
My question is lack of labor training is also one of the cause of market failure. So my question is how it is so?
Sir, I'm not sure about it.
No problem. No problem if you are not sure because I know it's not that easy. Okay. So Mia Emmer, finally you are in my class because you are always in and out of my class. So can you comment on that? Mia
सर
Emmer.
क्वेश्चन रिपीट करते हैं.
So I think you might have a hearing problem as well. Okay, my question is you can see the second cause, lack of labor training. Can't you see that? Just tell me how it causes market failure. That is my question. Pretty much simple. Yes, go ahead. Mia Ahmed, you are not attending my classes and you do not know the concepts as well. So what's your plan?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir Hassan, how are you?
Walaikum Assalam. I'm
Sir,
fine.
I just spoke to Mia Ahmed today. Mia Ahmed today, and he said that he is taking all the classes.
Very strange. I'm marking the attendance as well, and you can see that because I'm sharing it.
You are right. You are right. You are right. I know that he is not taking classes. Emmer, I'm going to speak to your parents again. All right.
मिस्टर आपने पहली 3-4 दफा कर ली है कॉल.
देख ले सर, अब इसको असर नहीं हो रहा तो मेरा ख्याल है इसको आप ड्रॉप करवा देते हैं फिर बिजनेस.
मेरा ख्याल है ये तभी आज क्लास में मौजूद हैं. Just because you approached his parents. Okay, all right. Let me ask Ramin Shahid. Yes, Ramin, can you tell me why lack of training is one of the cause of market failure?
सर अगर लेबर अनस्किल्ड होगी, उनकी स्किल्स एनहांस नहीं होंगी तो अंडर प्रोडक्शन होगी.
All right. Okay, very good. Ramin, great. Now, listen. Lack of labor training means that nobody is willing to train workers. Why? The reason is because if, for example, a particular business trains certain workers and then those workers switch to some other business. Why? Because after getting training, they become skilled, right? So now they have more demand in the market. So they may switch to other businesses as well. So that is basically the fear among all businesses that why to spend money on training to workers because they may go to some other business as well. So that is why workers are not trained, and then when they are not trained, it means businesses are not able to find the most suitable workers for the production of goods and services. That is one of the problem because every business waits for other businesses to train them. Okay, so let me write this effect as well. So Ramin, yes, you are right. Okay, so the first is I think somebody's mic is yes, Aruj Mustafa. Okay, let me just unmute you. Aruj Mustafa, just yeah, thank you very much. Okay, all right. So now lack of labor training. So what will happen? Business will not be able to find suitable workers for the job. That could be either production of goods and services or the provision of services only. so will not be able to find suitable work for a job. So what will happen? Enough production won't take place, right? And then what will happen? As a result, people won't be able to get the goods they want, right? So it means people are demanding certain amount of goods and services, but they are not available. Okay, and this is what we call again the case of underproduction or underutilization of resources, because labor is available. If you train them, you can use them to good effect. But because no business is ready to do it, that's why we call it underutilization of resources and the case of underproduction. So that is why this is how it actually becomes the cause of market failure. Okay, now I'm removing it. Why? Because now you know that what happened. Now what would be the effect on businesses? Now you know that people won't get the goods. It means they want. So what will happen? It will lead to lower sales, because whatever business is producing is not according to the requirement of the customers. So it will lead to lower sales and profit as well. Right? Okay, any confusion? Up till now, this is the effect on business due to lack of labor training. Okay, anyone who is still confused can ask me. No question? Sabah Rashid, is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, good. So now let's talk about the third cause of the market failure. That is formation of a monopoly or monopoly producers. And you know that what is a monopoly producer. Let me ask few of you. Muhammad Ali Tarar, can you tell me what is a monopoly?
So it's when one business has the monopoly in the market के उसी के products ज़्यादा बिक रही हैं और उसी का ज़्यादा वो है like take over है.
Okay, all right, all right. Yes. Faizan Ali, can you add to it? Faizan, are you there?
Sir, मैं तो
Yes, sir. क्या हुआ?
Faizan, please
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
सर बस यही होता है, इसके अलावा मुझे फर्दर नहीं पता क्या होता है.
All right, yes. So somebody else was actually wants to contribute.
जी जी sir, मैं
yes,
था
Abdullah.
Abdullah Wes.
Yes, Abdullah.
Sir, monopoly is a business which occupies most of the market share and is control of the market conditions.
Okay, all right, very good. So monopoly is a situation in the market where there is only one business who has complete control over the supply of a product. There is no other rival firm available there in the market. And we call that situation pure monopoly. So right now, specifically, we are talking about pure monopoly where there is no competition there. So what do? You know that they intentionally do not produce to the level which is desired by the people or the people living in the society. Do you know why? Why do they do it? Aruj Mustafa, can you tell me why monopoly producers, they do not produce to a level which is desired by the people of the society? Why they underproduce?
सर क्योंकि अगर उनकी सप्लाई कम होगी तो ये प्राइसेस बेशक ज्यादा करते रहें, इनको ऐसा कोई इशू नहीं होगा.
Bullseye. Very good, Huria. Correct answer. Why? Because if they reduce the supply of the product, there will be a shortage. More people are there to buy it, but the goods are not available for all the people. So yes, then prices will start going up. And that is the benefit of a monopoly producer. And that is why monopolies, they always earn abnormal profit just because of that reason. And people have no way out except paying for the higher price, paying the higher price for the product, right? So this is again a clear-cut case of underproduction. Resources are available, but monopoly producers are not using them. Why? Because they want to keep the supply of the product to a low level so that prices keep on rising and they keep on getting the profit they desire. So, in fact, this is the way they exploit consumers. Okay, now, so how would it have an impact on a business if it is a monopoly? Because normally you know that they enjoy abnormal profits, all monopoly producers. Okay, and there is no disadvantage apparently. But can you think of any disadvantage of if you are running a monopoly or the effect on the business? For example, in the case study in the paper, they have mentioned there is a business which is having a monopoly. Okay, and that business is actually the cause of market failure as well. So, what would be the effect on this business? Anyone? Okay, there are two scenarios. Let me clarify you. One is you want to enter a market, right? But there is already a monopolist there, a monopoly producer, right? Now the problem is that it's difficult for you to enter the market because people, they are already familiar with that brand, which is the only brand available in the market, and people are used to it. They are using it. For example, if I talk about tourism industry, okay, so now, and there is a chain of hotels in a certain region of a country, and there is no other hotel or chain of hotel over there. Now people, now they are used to it, staying there in those hotels, and there are certain facilities which are enjoyed by the people as well, and it has a name obviously because there is only one hotel there. But now if another business, for example, which is given in the case, wants to enter that market, wants to operate in that particular region, what would be the impact? What is the problem? And for that, I want Abdullah Hussain to answer. Yes, Abdullah?
So
Abdullah,
can you repeat the question?
my question is that how monopoly producers can affect other businesses who are planning to enter the market.
सर उनके पास बहुत बड़ा मार्केट शेयर होता है जिसकी वजह से वो चीज़ों की कॉस्ट जो है वो कम कर सकते हैं. जो नए सप्लायर्स आएंगे वो उतनी कम कॉस्ट पे नहीं बेच सकते जिसकी वजह से उनका बिजनेस फेल हो जाएगा.
Okay, or very good, that's right. So let me write it. It means business won't be able to enter the market as monopolist may reduce the price to a very low level, right? As monopolist can do that due to high level of economies of scale achieved by it. So because their cost is so low, as Abdullah just said, okay, let me just put the spellings right. Won't. So business won't be able to enter the market as monopolist may reduce the price to a very low level, as monopolists can do that due to high level of economies of scale achieved by it, right? So now new businesses, they are not able to reduce their price to a very low level because they have just started it and they have no profit at all. So they are unable to survive over there. Again, that could be the effect on other businesses, right? But if I say, what would be the impact on the monopolist if monopoly is created? Yes, Aniza Hamid. Can you
जी
tell
सर
me? My question is, I told you one scenario was that how would it have an impact on other businesses who are trying to enter the market? I just mentioned that it is very difficult for new businesses to enter that market where there is monopolist operating. Okay, and they have to face a very tough time over there, or maybe sooner or later they have to leave that market because they won't be able to compete it with the monopolist. Okay, now my question is that how monopolists will be affected. For example, you are running a monopoly business, how you would be affected if
sir
yes.
when they don't let the other competitors to enter the market, uh, the consumers need, like, they need more choices and they do not have them, and the prices of the monopoly producer is really high, so it may lead to under provision of goods and services maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that okay. Under provision, I know that under provision of goods or services means that there is a case of market failure. That's right. But monopolists will be affected as well. Why? Because now government will come into play. I told you. See, government will come up with anti-competitive practices, and we did that in the earlier classes. Government will come up with anti-competitive practices, um, stricter policies against monopolies. Okay, it may lead to higher cost and lower profit for the monopolist. Right now, do you know what is an anti-comparative practice? Who can tell me? Aisha. Yes, Aisha, we did that. Aisha Siddiqa, are you there? Hello, Aisha. I think Aisha is not there, I guess. Okay, let me ask Mahnur Yazdani. Yes, Mahnur. What is an anti-comparative practice?
सर वो जहाँ पे कंपटीशन नहीं होगा और यूजुअली मोनोपोली डोमिनेट करेगी मार्केट को, तो वहाँ पे एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रैक्टिसेस होंगी.
Okay, all right. Now, okay, let me just. Okay, I think this is my mistake that I have used the word anti-competitive. Okay, just a minute. Okay, yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, that's right. It means that anti-competitive practices means that which are against the competition. Anti means you understand this. Anti-competitive against the competition. So you know that in monopoly there is no competition. So what government does? Government will come up with policies. Okay, I have not written that. Come up with policies against anti-competitive practices, which are normally used by monopolists. Okay, and they can impose fines, they can increase amount of taxes as well, so that the cost advantage monopolies are having and they are using it to stop other firms to enter the market, it will be gone. Okay, it will not be there with the monopolist. So again, it will, because it will increase the cost, so it will lower the profit for the monopolist as well. Okay, so now you understand this. So the effect on businesses, that was the most crucial part and of your answer whenever you write an answer in your exam, especially 14 and 16 and 20 marks questions. Now we'll talk about income elasticity of demand. You know about them as well. Okay, so I told you that there are, I'm taking more time because now I realize that maybe you are not that much familiar. That is, one is normal goods. Okay, The other is luxury goods, and then we have finally inferior goods. Okay, and I told you about, I explained that in detail in the earlier class about the concept of income elasticity of demand. So now you will tell me what is the concept of income elasticity of demand all about. So, Subhan Seema, yes, please. Subhan,
Yes,
please.
yes,
Yes.
you can speak.
What is the concept of income elasticity of demand all about?
Sir, idea नहीं.
No idea. So it means because you have not been regular, that is one of the major cause. Yes, Ushba. So you are in my class. Good.
सर मूव कर देते हैं, मेरी क्या गलती है?
Ushba Ishfaq, do you know about it? I think you were not there in the class when I was explaining that. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Shahir Amir, yes, please. Shahir.
Yes, sir. It is the relationship between income and demand, whether it is elastic or inelastic. If demand increases, does income increase as well?
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'll comment on that. Anybody else who can tell me about this concept or has a clear definition?
Income elasticity is the percentage change in quantity demanded of a good for percentage change in the income of people.
Yeah, okay, all right. So income elasticity of demand basically explains the relationship between income and demand. And it says that when income rises, how much change will be there in demand. Okay, and I told you that for normal goods are basically the necessities, okay, which are essential for survival. So what happens when income rises? The demand of such goods also rises, right? Why? Because, but the rise may not be with the same proportion. Now what does it mean? It means, for example, if there is a 10% rise in income, I explained that in the earlier class as well. And why you are not clear, I'm not sure about it. If there's a 10% increase in income, the increase in demand will be, let's say, 5%. So it means, yes, demand is increasing. There is a positive relation between income and demand. But because it is a necessity, you know that, so people, they tend to buy more, but to a certain extent. It's not a luxury, or it's not actually something which you desire to buy. It's a necessity. Once you are able to satisfy your need, so there is no willingness to buy more of it. Okay. So yes, with an increase in income, demand for normal goods increases, but not to the same level as income increases, or with the same proportion as income increases. Similarly, if I talk about luxury goods, so luxury goods, you understand, those goods which are of high quality, and they give you pleasure, comfort, and they improve your living standard as well. So, okay, so in case of normal goods, what do we say? We say income elasticity of demand. Why it is for income elasticity? We say income elasticity demand is less than 1. And I demonstrated you with the help of a formula as well how to calculate income elasticity demand. If you do not know, you can check out my video lesson. Now, if income elasticity demand is less than 1, it means demand is less responsive to change in income. There is a less proportionate change in demand due to a change in income. I explained you that. Now, if I talk about luxury goods, so same positive relation is there. And what is that? Again, when income rises, demand for such goods, that is luxury goods, also rises. Okay, but in that case, the income elasticity demand is different. And let's say if there is a 10% increase in demand, increase in income, the increase in demand will be 15%. 15%. So it means that here demand is more responsive to change in income. So people tend to buy more compared to the rise in their income. Why? Because they have already satisfied their needs. And you know that needs are always limited. Wants are unlimited. Remember? So after satisfying their needs, because now they have a certain level of income where they can easily satisfy their needs, so now they'll go for luxuries. So that is why we say that the demand, income elasticity of demand for luxury goods is always greater than 1. So if we calculate it using the formula I demonstrated you the other day, so you will always get the answer that is greater than 1. That shows that demand for luxury goods is more responsive to change in income compared to the demand of normal goods. Similarly, if I talk about inferior goods, they are normally those items which are lower in quality. For example, second-hand car, okay, bus travel instead of driving your own car, or buying it and driving your own car. So, if these are of low quality, what happens when income rises? The relationship is different. If income rises, what happens to its demand? Abdul Jabbar, what happens to demand of inferior goods if income rises? Ji, Jabbar Sahab. So Jabbar Sahab is, I guess, sleeping or doing something else. Ushba Ishfaq. Ushba, any idea?
So
Ushba,
can you please repeat the question?
my question is, in case of inferior goods, I just told you, when income rises, what will happen to its demand? I told you they are of low quality, just like second-hand goods.
Demand would decrease, probably.
Absolutely, demand will fall. Demand falls. Okay, like for example, earlier you used to travel by bus. Now you have more income and you are able to afford a car. So would you like to travel by bus now? Obviously not. So when your income rises, demand for bus travel goes down. Same is the case with second-hand goods as well. When your income rises, you stop buying them and you go for other items. And those items could be normal goods or luxury goods. So it has a negative relation. So it means, but income elasticity of demand for inferior goods can be elastic or inelastic. But I'm not going to go into that detail because in economics, you must have studied that, because there are 3 different types of elasticities which are there in economics: income elasticity, cross elasticity, and price elasticity of demand. Okay, so let's say if income rises by 10%, demand will fall. Let's say it falls by 5%. So it can happen. It has a negative relation in case of inferior goods. But this is also quite possible that when income rises by 10%, demand for inferior goods falls by 12%, or let's say 15%. This is also possible. In both cases, the relation is the same, that is negative relation. They are inversely proportionate. So, but in the first case, the income elasticity of demand is inelastic. The answer, if you calculate that using the formula, it will come less than 1. And in the second case, the answer will be greater than 1. So remember that. But the relation will always be negative in case of inferior goods. Now imagine why I explained that, because I'll wind it up quickly. Now, what would be the impact on business? I have told you many a time, this is actually the most crucial part of your answer. impact on businesses. Okay, an examiner will look for that. Whether you end up telling how would it have an impact on the business which is given in the case study or not, right? So, if I talk about normal goods, for example, you are running a business where you sell normal goods and income is rising. What would you do as a business? Anyone? Any volunteer? No one? Okay, so let me explain then. What would you do? Because you are actually selling normal goods, if you know that, so even if income is rising, you won't produce much. You will not increase the quantity you produce to a very high level. Reason is because you know that the income elastic demand for normal goods is inelastic. It is less than one. So you know that even if income is rising, people won't buy normal goods to a very high level. Yes, there will be an increase in demand. So you might like to produce more, but not much, because you know that then you won't be able to sell it more, because you know the concept of income elasticity of demand in that case for normal goods. So you understand that you will be able to control your production, because if you do not know about income elasticity of demand, you might end up producing a lot more than that by looking at the trend that okay, people are now getting rich, so it means that they'll buy more, so you'll start producing more, without looking at it that you are actually dealing in normal goods. So business have to face loss. How? There will be plenty of goods which will be lying in the warehouse and they will be left unsold because the demand is inelastic. So you will actually predict it in a wrong way in that sense. Similarly, if you are actually dealing in luxury goods, and let's say now the economy is moving from recession to recovery. Remember, you know that what does it mean when an economy moves from recession to recovery? Anisa, what is it? Anisa, are you there? Anisa Hamid. When an economy moves from recession to recovery, what does it mean? I think Anisa is not there. She is not with us. All right. So it means now people are getting employment. They are getting more income. It will lead to higher purchasing power of the people. And you know that when income rises, it has a great effect on the demand of luxury goods. Why? Because income elasticity of demand for income elasticity of demand for luxury goods is always greater than 1. So you need to understand as an entrepreneur that if income is rising or the recovery period is going on, it means people will tend to buy more of luxury goods. So there will be increasing demand for luxury goods and it will be of very high level. So you need to make arrangement for that. Start buying equipment, machinery, hire another, because you know that it takes time. I mean, starting another branch or constructing another building, it takes time. So you need to understand it beforehand so that you can do it before that time happens, so that you'll be able to increase the growing demand of the people, and that demand will be immense. Why? Because the luxury goods always have a higher income elasticity of demand that is greater than 1. So if you won't do it, what will happen? Again, the impact would be that people will start buying from your rivals, because now you are not able to meet the demand of the customers just because you predicted it wrongly. Okay, and you were not having the knowledge of income elasticity of demand. There is huge demand and you do not have the resources at the moment to meet their demand. So they will switch to your rival firms and then they may never come back to you. So that would be a huge setback to a business. Similarly, if I talk about inferior goods, low quality item, and you deal in that, like for example, if I say China sale mela, you know that in Pakistan it's very common. Okay, it's there in other parts of the world as well, I'm telling you, because once I have been to UK, especially London, and I saw there £1 shop. And when I went to that shop, I saw lots of products available and labeled made in China. Okay, so it means that China Sale Mela is there in other parts of the world as well. But yes, maybe the quality might be somewhat superior to which is available in Pakistan. So when income, let's say, goes down, let's say now recession starts, people are losing their jobs, their income is going down. So the businesses which operate in inferior goods, they need to understand that now this is a high time to get profit, because the demand for inferior goods will go up, because people cannot afford normal goods or luxury goods. Now there is an issue of survival. They are in the state of survival, so they will tend to buy inferior goods, because now they can compromise on quality but they cannot compromise on the price, because they do not have the purchasing power. So again, those businesses, they have to arrange the resources beforehand so that they can meet all the demand of the people and can cope up with the growing demand and earn high profits even at the time period when there is recession there. And it is actually an indication for other businesses as well. For example, if you actually deal in high quality products, so now you have to stop producing it in case of recession when income is going down, because there will be no demand. So you can reduce the quality of your product for the time being, okay, so that people may buy from you because now they are affordable. But there is a problem there with that, and this is an evaluation. Now remember, I'm explaining you a concept and I'll give you an evaluation as well. And this is the fourth assessment objective and the toughest one, you know that. If I say the businesses which were earlier actually selling luxury goods or high quality goods, now because of recession, one way to maintain their profit, or at least to stop their profit to go down further, they can reduce the quality of their product so that it will be affordable for the people and sales won't go down. In that way, their profit might not go down, although they will earn lower profit on each item sold, but their profit will not go down, right? But now there is an evaluation. So I am going to negate my point of view. Remember, it's very important. And this is what we call evaluation in the body of the answer. Okay? And I explained you many a times. Now if I say, if the business has earned a very good brand name, and especially because the business produces high quality items. So now if the the quality would go down, people may get an image that now the image is not the same. So even if after recovery, like when recession goes out and recovery comes in and people now have more income, still they may not like to buy from that business, even if now the quality has increased, because now the image they have is that they have dropped down the quality. And you know that was the one of the reason, you know, that Apple iPhone, they actually developed the iPhone that was named 5C, and that was made up of plastic. Okay, and everybody knows that all iPhone, they are made up of glass. So they soon realized that maybe it is actually affecting their image badly. So they dropped that idea. Now there is no phone made up of plastic. Okay, so now they are focusing on their USP, their brand image, and that is why the price has gone so high, maybe 3,50,000 rupees for one Apple iPhone. So now you understand that. Okay, now any problem, any confusion regarding that, or the evaluation I just explained how you can do it in the body of the answer? No question. Mukarram Shariar, is that clear to you?
Hanji sir.
All right, so that's all. Thank you very much. And in the next class, that is on Thursday, we will start a new chapter. Okay, but from Monday, we'll actually continue our past paper session related to AS syllabus. So thank you very much.